Country Living. I'm Christopher Downs, your host. Today we have my guns, and these are 22 rifles, 22 caliber rifles. I got almost all of these except two from my grandfather. When he passed, he left me, I think, 60 something guns, and he left me a lot of older 22s. So what I'm going to do is restore the 22s. Today I'm going to focus on bluing. I have a bluing kit from Prima Blue here, and it's got my degreaser. That's important here, the cleaning degreaser. It has my bluing, liquid bluing, gun blue oil, or chemicals. And then it has the blue and rust remover, which I almost never use this, and you'll see why. Now let me show you, I'm gonna utilize this weapon here. This is a 22, let's see which one this is. I have so many of them. This is a Stevens Savage Arm. Back in the day where Sears and Roebuck, you remember Sears and Roebuck, 410s, 22 rifles, 12 gauge shotguns. That's when these metal weapons were sold, and Stevens was a company that made the guns for Sears. So what I'm going to do, we're not going to focus on the wood today, but we're going to focus on the bluing. You see all this rust and everything. You can see this old bluing here. They've been in storage a long time. Some of these here have been in storage. I've redone this bluing here. I was going to clean this one up. But a lot of these older weapons I have. Anything I have, like I have a AKA 7.62 millimeter, but everything I have in a big weapon, I also have in a 22 caliber. That allows me as a replica to shoot 22s and set everything up on my 22 so I can set it up on my big gun and practice shooting my 22 and save money because I'm not shooting all my shells up. So I have a replica of all of my big weapons, my 300 Savvies, my 270s, my 30-30s, you know, 30-06, 7 millimeters, you name it, I have them in 22s. But these are a collection from my grandfather. So I'm going to start with this, and again, we're going to look at bluing and sanding this here. And I'm going to show you why I do not use the blue rust remover. You can use it, but you don't need to if you take this step. Credibility for weapons, I'm a Marine. So I'm a rifleman. So weapons, and plus I'm a country boy. Before I was a Marine, I was shooting 22s and 410s for squirrels and rabbit on the run with a 22. So, I mean, I've been around weapons all of my life. So, some people want to know why you know what you know. A lot of it is done because we didn't have the money. So, the stock is still a pretty good stock. It just needs to be sanded and refinished. So, we're going to put that over here. Now, I can take all of this apart, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave this in here. You would just shoot your weapon or pull your trigger here and pull it out, set it to the side. I said I was going to take it apart. I won't take this apart then. Now I'm going to show you something real quick. This is my friend. This is my sander. I'm using 220 grit sandpaper. To me, I found that's a good medium sandpaper to use. You can use up to 400 if you want to. I have my steel wool that I'm going to use, and this is a 400 grit steel wool that I use to buff everything when I'm finished. I have little sponges here that I cut up. I like the smaller. I cut them up in small pieces so I have more, because you don't need all that big sponge. But I'm going to show you how I clean my bluing off my rifles real well and the rust. So it's going to be a little loud. I always keep a little small piece to get around these little areas here, you know, but you see how silver that looks? And I'm wiping everything down as much as I can, but it's not, you don't really have to spend a lot of time wiping, because the first step in it is you're gonna use your degreaser and cleaner. This is called cold bluing. It's chemicals. So you really want to wear gloves when you start messing with all of this bluing and degreaser and everything. So I have my trusted gloves over here. This is one of the other weapons that I finished earlier today. And all bluing, there's different products out there. For some reason, all bluings don't work well on all weapons. I don't know, it's the steel, the chemical reaction with the steel, because they may mix them differently. Some products work better with other steels. So you'll know people who work with weapons a lot and do a lot of rebluing, especially cold bluing. You're going to have different bluing liquids. You may have different companies because you want to test to see which works better. There's another process that you're going to use, hot chemical bluing. It's very, very expensive because you can only use those chemicals for so long, and then you have to throw them away. And those chemicals, they're very bad for the environment. So this is a degreaser and a cleaner. Sparingly put it on there. Put a little more on there. I like to see, like I'm taking a bath, I like to see some suds. I like to see it's doing something. I hold mine up and I go around and clean it real well. That's gonna get a lot of that oils and dirt and dust that you just finished accumulating on the weapon. I spin it a lot. Then I'll set it up like this. And during this process, you want to make sure that if you have anything with oil on it, you want to move it out the way. Because and look, this, it comes with the kit. Me personally, the best thing to use is brake fluid, brake cleaner, because it dries real quick and it gets all of the oils off and it dissipates quickly. So you can use this, but you can use brake cleaner. That's the best thing to use. I've got it pretty good. I'm gonna go back over it one more time. Now, I got it pretty well. I think it's in there pretty well. Just cleaning everything. Make sure you clean everything, because if you have to touch it and it has oil on it, you're gonna put it back on your weapon. So now, I'm gonna take it to my sink. And look, guys, this is real homemade videos. This is not, you know, a production or anything like that. So there are dishes in the sink. And my daughter, who's my camera lady or person, I don't know if it's her time to wash dishes or what. But now look, I like this because I can come here and I can spray that water down on it. I'm gonna start my drying process before I get back over there, because I don't want it to hit the sink. Get on the floor. You want to dry this down before the next, let's do this. And also I have some guys cleaning my windows and my roof and my gutters outside. So there's a lot going on today at the Dials house. Also, it's my day to wash clothes too. So I've been washing clothes and now I'm going to use this because I want to make sure it's dry. Come here real close. Can you see that? Even though I washed it real well, you see those little brown spots? I'm scrubbing this thing, getting all this dust and everything off. I want it clean. And a lot of it's gonna come out these little grooves. See it? If I wasn't shooting a video, I would go over it again one more time, but I'm OCD at the same time, so I know this is good enough. Now you see how shiny that barrel is? That was from one application, one shine, I went over it one time with this, well, 1,000 times really, but I went over it with this, wiped it down, used this right here on the little small areas that this couldn't get to. And keep in mind, this is 220 grit. This right here is 400 grit, and this is going to come in handy. Now, I'm going to move this out the way, dry my hands on my towels. I'm going to go for the bluing now. Now, you can use something like this or cotton balls, but I'm going to use this. But I got one that I've used today on the other weapon. And here's the trick. I'm gonna saturate this. And you're gonna see a chemical reaction. Now, keep in mind when I'm putting this on, I'm spreading it quick, but I'm also pressing down hard on the, you see that? That's the key. I'm pressing down hard. Keep in mind, you don't go over it. I'm gonna go over it twice. You can do it you can do it as many times as you want it to get it as dark as you want it. I don't really care that it is gonna look super black. I actually would love to keep it this silver color. There's a way you can do that as well. See, you see here, when it's a little light, I just go over it like this, darken it up, because I'm pressing down on it, pushing it into that metal, causing that reaction to go deeper. You can heat this metal up if you wanted, if you had, even with this here, you can heat this metal up in the stove at about 100 degrees, 120, and then apply this on there real quick, and it'll even go on there darker and react to the metal better. Now, one guy, I heard him say, "Oh, you don't need to wear any gloves with this." And he's the guy you'll probably hear about having cancer. Because you don't mess with chemicals. These chemicals are harsh. You see what it's doing to that it's metal, and your skin is delicate, comparative. It doesn't do anything to this because it's a different type of metal. I'm going back over to keep it moist while it takes about a minute to really bond, but I'm keeping it moist. You don't want this stuff to dry up. It makes it harder when it dries up. You want to keep it moist. It's not doing anything at this point. After you go over it, I'm just keeping it moist. The chemical reaction is already taking place. I'm just keeping it moist so I can wash it off. I think that's been a minute. What you think? It's been a minute? Mm-hmm. We're going to take it to the sink. Cold water, not hot water. We won't tell the missus that I've been using her paper towels. She wonder why they go so fast. They come in handy for a lot of little things. You see that coming off? That's what didn't bond to it. So you want to wipe that off real well and make sure you dry this thing real well. And you're going to understand why that wool is so important. 400 grit. You can go lighter than that if you can find it. But that 400 grit is going to buff this out. I'm turning this around so I can take the wet napkins and aside and put it inside and go back over it and drying it again so we can make sure that it's dry and take as much moisture off this as I possibly can. What about them bears? Okay. I'm going to set this to the side. This is no good anymore. It's wet. This is the 400 grit. I got a couple of them here, and I have this one here. You can use either one. I like my hands are big, so I'm going a little bigger. You can get closer if you want to. You can come closer. Now you see how it's kind of dull and spotty. I'm going to go ahead and lightly buff it out. You'll start seeing it shine. That's going to be my first coat. And I'm going a little in circles. You can't see it. It looks like I'm going just straight up down, but I'm going like this in circles. If I see any moisture, I'll just dap it. So if you ask yourself, what are some of the things the big country do at home all day? I'm washing clothes, I'm charging my boat battery, both of my boat batteries up, getting ready for those crappie too. Whew. Can't wait. I'm washing clothes, cleaned some fish today. Now I went over it. You can look at it, it's buffer, and you can see a little bit more shine on it. But I'm also going to wipe it down one more time with the towel, get all the little residue off that may be on there. And I agitated it with this and buffed it out. It's got micro little scratches in there that we can't see. I'm going to go ahead again. If you bend this to the side at an angle, it'll hold her more. This is going to be a little faster, but it's going to also be a little darker. Set it up if you want to. Put your finger up here. Just trying to get it where I want you guys to see it. I've done this, building this bluing up, polishing it. I've done it about 5 or 6 times on one weapon, and you couldn't tell the difference between a hot bluing and a cold bluing. It's just you taking time and putting the effort into it. I know my wife probably doesn't appreciate me using all these chemicals on her countertop. The thing about it is she's so used to me, she doesn't really notice half of the stuff I'm doing. I just make sure I clean up behind myself real well, or as well as I like to clean up. It's never good enough for her probably, but if she's seen how it was before I did it, she would really be upset. Again, we're going to give this another minute. Does that look darker? You see that shine starting to come on there? Look at that. It's smoothing out. And you know what? Just because I'm doing the video, I might go ahead and buff it one more time. My camera lady is probably looking at me funny with those Japanese eyes we have because my grandmother is Japanese. She's looking at me like, Dad, hurry up. But this is big country living. This is what we do. Now I know some of you guys may be asking, what's going to happen to that water that goes down the barrel? You're gonna clean that barrel out, and you're gonna dry it out, and you're gonna put oil through that barrel. And after I finish bluing all of my weapons, I always give it an oil bath and let it sit for a day or two. Let that oil penetrate through. After I wipe it down well with that, I set it to the side, and I go back over it with a towel, a dry towel. You come in and look at it, it's darker. It's darker, and I'm gonna buff that. It's gonna buff and shine, give it a little bit of shine to it. I like spinning it when I'm buffing. Some of the old guys, like, they do the shoe shine buffing. I think all methods of it work. When you find out what works, what's good for you, you know, learn them all, try them, and keep what works for you. The best works for you, I guess. You say. And the trick, to me, what works the best, believe it or not, is this sander here. That sander, because it gets down in those grooves. I see a little moisture here. Let me get that moisture out. It's coming out those little cracks and grooves. I could blow it out with air. I could do that. But for the YouTube video, you know, people want to know stuff, but they don't want to sit around all day and do everything you do. You tell them they do it, but they don't want to watch it all as long. They don't have the patience a lot of times. Okay, you see how shiny that thing is? Is that shiny? Can you see that in that camera? Is that shiny? Let me see your head move. Is that shiny? It's shiny. Now we're going to go one more time because I can do this for two more times. And right now you couldn't tell if you saw this that it was done, the bluing was done by, that it was cold bluing. And you seen how rusty that thing was? And it was rusty more than that. I'd already started sanding it down by hand and I stopped. And I said, you know what, let me go ahead to, I'm gonna pull all my weapons out and do them all at one time. Just the bluing part, and then go back and do the wood. And each time you put a coat on there, it gets darker and shiny. It's just like buffing shoes in the military. You know, you put that spit shine on there, and you buff it out, and you put some more on there, you buff it, and the more you buff it, the more it builds, the shinier it gets. And it's that barrier and that shine that you want. Wax on the car. The more you wax it, dry it, and buff it out and put more wax on there, you're going to build that wax up. gives you better protection, better shine. Weapons the same way. And I can tell the way it's, the bluing is now going in, but it's also beating up quicker. So that's a good sign. And again, you want to just keep, even though it's not doing anything, once it burns, you just want to keep going over it to keep that moist, because you don't want it to dry up. You really don't want it to dry up. I know guys let it sit on there and then it dries up and have that coat on it and it look like rust, you know. You see how dark that is? Why would you ever have to take this to a gunsmith when you can do it right in your own home? And most of you guys don't have 100, 200 weapons like I have. You know, most of you guys, you know, you have the weapons you hunt with, or something you've been having since a kid, or you know, you don't have an excuse because you don't have as many. You know, you can get in there and do your few weapons and take care of them. If it's get a scratch on there, fix it yourself. That old saying, give a man a fish and feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. Lifetime of work. Pass this down to your kids. Look how pretty that is. Can you remember how light that was? We're going to give it one more bath. I was thinking when I said one more, a cold shower or a cold bath, because she gets hot. So you have to put a cold shower on her. Some of y'all will get it, some of y'all won't. So that I'm gonna get fussed at, would you please fill this back up? Take this one off and put a new one on there and give me the old one, and I can take it outside in my shed. We're done bluing this. Now I'm gonna buff it out and show you guys what I do because you've been running a lot of water on your weapon. It's metal. Metal and water doesn't mix. Together, metal and water make a baby called rust. And that baby can mess up anything. Mess up your cleaning. You don't want that rust. This is my last time doing it, so I'm gonna make sure that I get most of this, all this water off of it. On the long part of the barrel, it's easy to get everything off. In the little crevices, it's kind of hard, but you hear, like I said, compressed air will get it done faster. Okay, we go here and buff it up one more time. To me, that 400 grit, oh, it buffs so well. The more you buff it, the shinier it'll get. Now come look at that. Is that shiny? Now look, this is my gun oil and a cotton ball. I saturate it. Why? Because I want that oil. I just use water on here. So I'm just going to condition my metal and my new bluing with oil. Oil is a gun's best. Recording. Oil is a gun's best friend. I almost said a girl's best friend. And you're gonna get all them little crevices all in there where that water went. I'm gonna let my weapon set up for a day with the oil on it. Then I'm gonna go in. Tonight I'll go in and clean the inside because I had water coming in the inside. But once I do that, I'll let it set for 24 hours. This weapon here will set probably until I just feel like shooting it. So it may set for 2 years or until I take it out to clean them again, because I have them scheduled cleaning on all my weapons. You have a responsibility when you have so many weapons, or like civilians say, guns, but now look at that. Tell me that is not a pretty piece of steel. You see that? This here, if I wanted to, I can unscrew that and work this little area out by itself. Take this off the weapon and work it out, you know. So, and that's what I'll probably end up doing. But look at that. Any weapon can be done. That's how you blue or cold blue your weapons. If you have any questions, give me a call, text me, email me, hit me up on Facebook, let me know, hit me up on my channel, Big Country Living. Appreciate it. John, I appreciate you asking me about bluing. I love blue. You ask me anything, most likely I could do it because I'm a country boy, and we in country, we learn how to do things ourselves. But hey, I appreciate you guys taking your time out with Big Country Living. If you want to know how to blue, it's easy to do. Take your small weapon to do it. It just takes patience and time and diligence. Thank you for tuning in with Big Country Living. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like on the button. Thanks. Bye.